Hi guys, when making the video about listening, I wasn't quite able to say everything I wanted to say because the video was already getting quite long. So today I want to cover one of those points that I didn't get a chance to cover in the previous video. In fact, today's topic is also going to largely apply to reading as well, but I'm going to be speaking about it in the context of listening. So anyways, let's get straight into it. Today's topic is about the habit of attempting to translate your target language into your native language in your head. I'll first talk about the reasons people seem to do this. Then I will talk about how we may possibly react to this habit and if it's likely to have any negative implications on our language learning. So first of all, I just want to say that I'm really familiar with this particular habit. When I learned Japanese, probably until I reached something like an intermediate level, I remember my brain habitually trying to do this. This of course happens much more often when someone is first starting to study their target language. And as their ability increases, this habit eventually disappears. Another telling factor that helps to explain why this is happening is that this habit is particularly prevalent in learners who are still monolingual and can currently only speak their native language. So what seems to happen and what happened to me is that my brain was completely used to explaining the world to itself in English, and therefore was completely used to thinking about and confirming understanding of concepts to itself in English. For example, something that I would regularly do is explain different concepts I had learned in university to myself in my head in order to confirm that I actually understood them. And I feel this is likely just a very normal habit that carries over once one starts language learning. And even though I had already learned about the language of thought hypothesis at the time, I definitely didn't become clearly aware of its seeming validity until I went on to develop fluency in Japanese and other foreign languages. If you're not familiar with the language of thought hypothesis, which is often referred to as mentalese, it's basically the concept that the brain explains the world to itself in actual chunks of thought. Much like words are used in spoken and written languages, thoughts about concepts, things, or actions are the words of the brain, so to speak. I've included a couple links about the language of thought hypothesis in the description below, so if you're interested, make sure to check them out. So again, what apparently seems to happen, and particularly in the brain of those of us who still only speak one language, is that we have this heavy bias of needing to confirm our understanding of concepts or information by using our native language internally. This seems to happen when we are not yet familiar, fully able to, or comfortable with simply allowing our target language to be directly interpreted into thought as we would when listening to our native language. So is this actually a serious problem and something we should worry about? And if so, is there anything we can do about it? So before we ask ourselves if there's anything we can do about it, we should think about whether this is a problem to begin with. In my opinion, this sort of behavior in an inexperienced language learner is nothing to worry about and should be expected. You've been explaining the world to yourself in your native language your whole life. Of course, you're going to automatically attempt to leverage and use it when learning a new language. So does this behavior have any potential negative side effects? One area that this propensity to translate into our native languages can and likely will impede our learning is when we are attempting to listen to or read our target language. This is because until we can become comfortable with not translating into our heads, attempts to translate to our native language will either cause us to lose track of what's currently being said when listening, or can impede us from efficiently reading by causing us to waste considerable time needlessly translating. You can find out more about the techniques that I use to help mitigate this issue when listening and reading by watching the videos in my How to Immerse in a Foreign Language series. In the listening video, for example, I cover the concept of trying to stay with what's currently being said when listening, among many other useful techniques that I personally found to be very helpful. So if you're interested, be sure to check the series out and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes. So anyways guys, it takes time to learn to not translate in one's head. So especially if this is your first language, it's going to take a little time to get comfortable not doing this. And even though in my opinion, this act of translating in our head likely has some minor negative repercussions, I think it's probably unavoidable. I don't think someone can skip this part of the process and instantly learn how to directly interpret their target language into thought. I think translating a little bit in your head into your native language is just part of the process of learning a foreign language, particularly your first one. And I believe the very act of translating into your native language will help you become aware of the fact that you don't really need to do so. As you end up repeatedly translating the same words and structures in your head, you'll eventually realize that you don't need to continue doing so, as it will become clear that you've become directly able to interpret them in thought. At least that's what happened to me and how I became acutely aware of the connection between the language of thought and our spoken and written languages. Lastly, if you're thinking you might still not be able to break this habit, even as your ability in your target language improves, just keep in mind that translating or interpreting is a much more resource-intensive and difficult task than simply understanding a language directly in thought. And I assure you that you will gradually but naturally stop translating in your head because it simply is too much work. Let's say you didn't stop and still managed to get to an advanced level. Well, then I salute you, because I would guess that then you could simply refine your translation abilities a bit and get a job as an interpreter making those fat stacks. Well, that's it for today, guys. The next video will be part 2 in the How to Immerse in a Foreign Language series. It will cover many of the psychological stressors that a learner can face on their language learning journey, so be sure to check that out if you've been having trouble. If you're interested in helping us decide the direction of Migaku, joining our official Discord community, and gaining access to early releases of Migaku software and other bonus content, then please consider supporting Migaku on Patreon. We've recently just released English deconjugation support for the Migaku Dictionary add-on and are currently working on Russian. And the race for which language is next is currently a close race between Arabic and Portuguese. As always, thank you so much to all my patrons. I couldn't do it without you. And of course, a special shout out to the $1 leech tier. Your kindness in supporting me nearly brings me to tears. Thank you, leeches. If you need support with an issue you're having or would like to join the official Immerse with Migaku community on Reddit, you can find those links in the description below. If you would like a chance to win free VIP access to the official Migaku Discord community and Migaku software projects, then please subscribe to this channel, leave a like and comment on this video. At the end of every month, I choose 10 people to get a free behind the scenes look at the community we're building, and that number will be increasing as new Patreon milestones are reached. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found some value in today's video. See ya!